Hello and welcome back. I'm Jasper and this is a PB&J cast where we explore careers, ideas and unique stories. I am super thankful for you investing time to help broaden perspective and joining me in the journey as we appreciate the process of finding and adding value in work. This episode is part 2 of Taxman Joe's journey and I hope you enjoy it. What do you wish more clients knew that would help your job?
I think we were sort of touching on this before about like adding value.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think like, you know, we don't do much. And then obviously like when you send in them like an invoice for the work that you've done, a lot of them are like, you know, you haven't really added much value here. And, you know, what was the point of all this?
Yeah.
That like some clients, they honestly just don't care.
Yeah.
But then you get the few and it can obviously affect you a bit because it's like, you know,
put so much effort.
You put so much effort into it and they're just like, you know, I literally just like the phone call that I just had before. It was like, you know, how can you just like justify this sort of amount of money? It's like, yeah, I think that sort of hits me a bit like clients don't really understand the work that goes behind. You know, they might get this little book later at the end of the year and it says, this is, you know, it shows them their financials and we try and make them really pretty and nice. Yeah. And then, you know, it shows them their tax return and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, they don't know the effort that goes behind it because obviously we check a lot as well. Yeah. So in a way, a little bit like auditors, right? Yeah. So we go through and we do put a lot of like go deep into their data and that to make sure that everything they've done is right. So that if the ATO was to look at it and check it, they would be happy that we've satisfied everything because obviously even as a Big Four environment, we need to obviously, we're supposed to be the best of the best. So the clients do come to us expecting the best of the best. Yeah. But it does get hard a lot of the time when you want to put a lot of effort into it, check everything, make sure it's, you know, everything is perfect. Yeah. And then clients thinking, you know, you didn't put, how could it honestly take you a week to do a tax return? Yeah. You know, but we're not talking, you know, little individual tax returns here. So I wish clients knew a bit more about the process. Yeah. But, you know, you can't help that. I think that's in a lot of things. When someone is not aware of the job or whatever and questions it. But yeah, I think that would be the most.
Well, yes. Sorry to hear that, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I hope if you're a client, you're listening to this, and cut him some slack, man. I you know, full disclosure, did not hear the conversation at all. Just wondering, is that common ground? Because like it's not office hours, and do they just give you a call randomly?
You have the few. You have a variety of different. You have clients that will do that. Others won't. But I think it's really important to switch off as well to make sure you have boundaries in your working because like I said, majority of these clients are private, right? So they're not big listed companies where, you know, the team or the CFOs and all that stuff you're operating in a way that, you know, they go off and, you know, they're done for the day as well, right? Yeah. You're dealing with like an owner who he's so busy during the day where they might, you know, be only able to call you at 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night. Yeah. Right. But like I said, we need to, in a way, I like to at least be always available. And I think maybe in certain times of your career, you have to sort of juggle that. Yeah. You know, for myself being single, not having kids or whatever, it's different yet. But I think I sort of look at a lot of like senior managers like with kids and families and all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, you need to make sure you're switched off at home and stuff. So I think you got to be careful with that. Gotcha. But unfortunately, clients will call, you know, they're paying, like I said, they want to justify their fee, right? So they will, if they want to call, they'll call.
Yeah. And do you think that it's more common ground because they are specifically high net worth and they are expecting this or?
I think it can happen on both. Yep. It can happen with like, not all my clients are high net worth people, but it can happen on both, to be honest. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's the smaller ones that do that because it doesn't really discriminate on that.
It's just because they're like concerned and
if they've got a concern or and the other thing is, one thing I didn't mention, like with the tax side, you are a trusted advisor to them.
Yes.
You may not like give them like advice on how to spend and all that stuff, but you're someone that they trust. And I think there was NAB did a survey of like who's like the number one person or role that a small business owner would go to in the event that they needed help. And you'd think like it might be like your husband or your wife, but like at the top it was their accountant. Wow. So that's usually the one that they will reach out to first. You know, it's like, I got to call my accountant, see if I can do this. You know, I want to go buy a truck for my business, I'll call my accountant. And then you're dealing with the personal side as well, you know, through good times where they're, you know, doing really well, business is booming, but then you're also sometimes there for the bad times. So they look at you as someone that they can always have on call. And it's actually a rewarding thing, and you sort of want to do that. But like I said, make sure you've got boundaries in particular for different times of your life.
Yeah, right. I'm learning a lot. Yeah, I'm definitely learning a lot. I hope other people are too. What would then be the most common request you get and the most difficult one?
Common requests from
clients.
From a client. I don't interact that much with clients because of my junior level. It's very one-off sort of stuff that you'll get from clients. More from managers is someone that I'd probably deal with more. I think they often get a lot of the daily requests that will come from a manager. So a lot of my communications will go from a client would call a senior manager or a manager who's sort of responsible, or a partner, but it's usually the senior manager that runs the job. And that will sort of flow through to me. But it depends on the work that I guess you're doing for the client. Yeah, there's not something that would be like a common request, because I'm trying to think of one. It's not.
That's all right.
Yeah.
What is the hardest request that you have received?
I think clients not understanding, like, obviously the right treatment for things on a tax point of view, right? Yeah. So naturally we know things that, you know, how things are supposed to be treated, how maybe income's supposed to be treated, how's you know, certain expenses supposed to be treated, right? Yeah. And you may have certain clients that, you know, may have been doing it this way for years and think that it's fine, and not obviously having that understanding of tax law and what is appropriate. So trying to educate them, and I think more like the older generation do obviously, you know, have a particular way, or they may have remembered tax laws from the 80s, right? Thinking that they're still relevant. And I think getting those requests from them to be like, oh, you know, challenging your view, and, you know, you do, you know, have the evidence and
this is your expertise.
This is what you're good at, and this is maybe a new tax or a change, amended tax, right? Yeah. So getting clients that, you know, expect things to go a certain way, when it's like, look, that might be the way they did it back in the day, but things are different now, and there's things in place that mean we, in order to be compliant, we need to do it this way. Yeah. So I think that's also, that would be like the request. But in terms of maybe from a manager, like speaking from experience, because that's where I usually get it from, often it's time. It's like, we need something done in a certain period of time. Yeah. And it's like, I want to do it right, and I want to do it, make sure it's to detail. It's, you know, my attention to detail is good. I've you know, looked over it and I'm happy with it. Yeah. But then if you're only given a certain amount of time, it's like you're rushing, and it's hard to do your best work in that time. Yeah. Right. So that my hardest request is often like deadlines of like, oh, I need this done. Yeah. And then managing multiple things at once. Yeah. But yeah.
Dang. Would you say that's like, did you expect that going in?
Not really. Okay. No, I think, I honestly went into, so I was originally going into audit. That was where I was going to go into when I accepted my graduate role at another Big Four. When I switched over to saying I accepted the role at tax, in a tax team, I was expecting it to be quite chill. Because as an auditor, or being in audit, I always looked at the tax guys, and you guys have such a chilled life. Like, you've only got one due date, or you've only got one, you know, major event in the year, you know, whether it be like, let's just say the 15th May, right? I always sort of knew that, okay, that's the day where, if you got a tax agent as doing your tax return, that's the day, right? But I didn't realize the due dates throughout the year, depending on the size of a company, or depending on the size of a family, or who they are, all this sort of stuff. Just dates vary, right? Yeah. And it's like, I didn't expect that going in, that there would be such a demanding-ish role throughout the year, not just at a certain one part of the year. Yeah. So that's probably what I wasn't expecting.
No, fair enough.
When I went in.
Going off to the different dates, you actually are the one that educated me about this, but the government actually expects high net worth individuals or entities to actually pay tax early so they can have.
Yes. So most people do pay as you go.
Yep.
So most people have like every 3 months. Sometimes every month, right? So you're constantly giving, like just like a majority of us, we give to the ATO every pay slip, right? Yep. The company pays it for us.
Okay.
Well, a lot of people, particularly people that don't get pay slips, so a lot of rich people don't get a pay slip, right? It's just not, some do, but not many of them get like a pay, they're not on a salary, right? So they have trusts and that all the money goes in and then they get money at the end of the year or throughout the year. So in their case, they're actually paying tax throughout the year,
right,
as well. But it's more the due date of those tax returns can vary depending on the size of a company or of a trust. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Now, I guess going to a bit more controversial topic, what would you say then to people who are like, well, your job is unethical? Or,
yeah. I've actually, funnily enough, had people come up to me about that.
Really?
Yeah,
it was really kind of rude.
It's really weird. They actually like think, I actually had someone come up to me and they were like, you're a Big Four, like you work at a Big Four in tax or whatever it was. I don't know if he knew I was in tax, but he was like, you just, think you guys own the market and, control the government and how they do things. And, you're just making rich people richer, all that sort of stuff that you can expect, right? Because we do deal with the big end of town, and large families and large businesses. And I don't know whether he was directing towards, maybe like the big corporate side, your big ASX guys. But yeah, I was a bit thrown off by it. But in my experience, a lot of I actually had the opposite sort of view of it because we're dealing with high wealth and high net worth people. They're also people that the ATO really knows.
Yep.
They're on their radar.
Yep.
And the public know, right?
Yep.
So they're often public figures and people that you would see on rich lists and CEOs and owners of massive companies. So in my experience, we're actually extra conservative on how we do things and making sure that it's not just some random guy's tax return where we can push through a deduction and people say, did you use your car? And they're like, I used my car, but they didn't really use their car for the work and they get a deduction for it.
ATO, if you're listening, it's not us.
It's not us. Yeah. But yeah, so like on the individual side, like people think a lot of those, I'm sure like, that goes through a lot. Even when people do their individual tax returns, right? They can push through whatever they want. No one's checking. But like with the big end and in my role at a Big Four, it's very, we have to be extra careful because, if they do it wrong, or if we do it wrong and they don't pay the right amount of tax, or they do something that's illegal, or tax evasion or whatever, it's going to end up in the media. It's going to end up in the news. Not only would they be in the news and they'll be pissed, right? Because it's not a good image for them, and their businesses, but they'll also look at us and that's just not something we could even
justify.
Yeah, we wouldn't even go down there because, there's so much systems in place to protect us from doing that and making sure that we are always being on top of our training and how we do things. So yeah, a lot of people think that we just, push money into different places or send money to another country and stuff. And it's like, it's actually the opposite. We're very conservative with it all. Because I think, the clients actually want that. Because at the end of the day as well, they're wealthy. So, a lot of these people, in my experience, they rather do the right thing. If it costs them a bit more money, they got money, right? Yeah. So, a couple dollars here and there extra to make sure that they're not going to be having an issue with their tax, or they're not going to end up on the front page of the paper. They would rather that. If it costs them $1 million extra, they will, because they know that they're protected. Because they've got a lot on the line. Right? Because the moment the ATO feels like a billionaire has not paid their tax, they'll come after. They'll make sure, they'll put the right amount of team, like a whole team at the ATO onto it. They're not going to do that for us. Us common people. So yeah, that's why I was quite blown away. I'm like, mate, let's have a chat and let's, I'll tell you the real picture. Well, that's my experience though.
Yeah. So, I think that's really good. And I was going to ask you, but you've kind of answered the question. I think more people need to know that as well. There's a lot of, I guess, animosity and stigma to that side of things.
Yeah.
That's cool. How would you like the industry to change if you could change it?
Yeah. I think the industry is definitely changing, and in our firm in particular with tech, and I'd really like it to see that way. I see it go that way more. One side of it in tech means that we can check more and be more like comfortable with, like, if you're getting a lot of data, a human can't check it all, right? But a robot can actually check every single line and do all those sorts of things. So looking at how we can use technology to make sure that we're even more compliant than we already are, and making sure we're abiding by all the rules. But in my experience at the firm, so I've sort of taken on this unofficial role of they call it like a digital accelerator. So it's been cool that I've been a part of that, just to see how we're going.
Genius.
Yes. But that was a long time ago.
So go on.
But yeah, so seeing how we're going to use automation in order to make our jobs easier. Yeah. And get things out, get the repetitive tasks out. So I would make it clear that, like, if anyone's obviously stepping into accounting, I think a lot of jobs are repetitive, no matter what. And I think that might be a turn off to a lot of people with tax. They think it's very repetitive, and in some degree, it sort of is. You tend to do the same thing, like every year you do the same thing. Yes, the company might be different. You move on to different clients, whatever, but it is the same thing. So looking at our team's focus at the moment is looking at how we can use technology to get rid of to do all the repetitive stuff, the boring stuff. And then our roles as people in the team will be more about advising and supporting clients, and the actual day-to-day stuff we want to sort of automate. And that's already come a long way in recent years. But looking at how to take that further. So my role is sort of setting up these workflows in softwares and that I guess help us do things a bit faster. And in particular, like one example might be that we developed is, getting a client's financials in their data and their systems that they would run their business every day. And we rip that out and it automatically makes financials.
Wow.
So it was really cool. That's actually like 2 weeks ago, we sort of set that up, and it was, so that looks at ways that we can cut time, save money, which is good, charge less, which is also cool. But at the same time, we can focus more on, our focus is we want to actually talk with the client, help them run their business, support them, not sit behind a desk doing a tax return.
Yes.
That's where we sort of
putting numbers into Excel stuff.
Yes. Yeah. And that's where the accountant's sort of changing, where they're becoming more advanced. That's why they call us consultants instead of accountants.
Gotcha. No, that's cool.
Trying to cause a bit of change. But
yeah. Right. So that way is also good that you're not just like worried about losing your job, because your role has changed as well. The role goes away.
Yeah, because you can worry at the same time. It's like a firm like ours would have had so many more accountants back in the day compared to what they have now.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality of it, isn't it? But at the end of the day, new jobs get created out of that as well when we start looking at tech and how to support businesses in the decisions that they make by using data that we have from doing their work for 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So
then, okay. Actually, I listened to a podcast today talking about tech being the future and human productivity decreasing. What is your take on it? Is it more that you guys just need to like adapt? You can't be things have changed, laws have changed, tech is coming in as well. So then it would be more like adapting to the different roles and responsibilities.
I think so the role of the accountant, I think, is changing as well. So my view of it is like the accountant yes, you got your financials and you got your tax return, right? Yeah. So you got them. But if we can lower the time spent on doing that work of actually preparing those 2 documents that we send out, we can spend more time on for an example, I'm working on a few clients at the moment. Also part of this sort of digital role is dashboards, which is really cool. So looking at how we can use a dashboard and then go to meetings with clients, say, this is how your year went by using a dashboard instead of a boring financial. So if you can imagine what a financial is, it's like, here's your income, these are your expenses, this is your profit, this is all your assets and stuff. It's a very hard copy, boring report, right? That some people might not even look at, right?
Yeah.
So we want to do it in a way that we put it into a dashboard. So a dashboard it's an interactive document. So for example, so a client of mine, let's say they have 20 properties, commercial properties across the city, right? So they want to see how much money they made across all those properties. So we would have a dashboard that say you made $5 million in rent revenue for your property. So that would be on the dashboard. But then there'd be a map of the city of Perth, and they would go click into all their properties. And when they click into the properties, all the data would come up in like graphs and tables to say, this is how much rent came in. This is how much expenses. You've made 20% return on this property. And then compare that to say, I want to compare it to this property. So it's very interactive and it changes. So the way the accountant's role will change, instead of preparing a financials and sending to them by email and then getting them to sign it and send it back, it would be more like, we'll still got to do that work because there's compliance work behind to do. That's fine. But the way that we present it and the way we'd come to you and sit down and talk about, this is how you're performing. This is what you're doing. And then use that to sort of have conversations with you about, how do you, go from 5 million to 6 million to 7 million, or to advise, give, not, tell you what to do, but be a part of the conversation about what's, next for that family, or, and how we can set them up
from the tax vantage.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because it's accounting as well. So it's tax and accounting. So the accounting side is really the how much money you made, how much money you spent, how you can cut costs, how you can, make more, all this sort of stuff, right? For a business. So those dashboards are really cool. So it's been really cool that I've been able to get involved with seeing that. And the reaction from clients is quite good.
Cool.
And they're liking how that's coming across. So
No, cool. Definitely a lot about tax that I didn't know.
It's a big area.
I'm glad you're passionate, and I hope other people listening enjoy it as well. I know for myself, probably not going to be a tax man, but I did learn a lot. I think I do hope that if I ever need ever become a high net worth, I will be a good client.
I'll always look after you.
Thanks, Joe. So switching modes, being a bit more of an outro. If you could choose any other profession, what would it be?
Any other profession?
You only could choose one. Only choose one. Yeah.
I actually wanted to be a pilot.
Right. Interesting.
It's weird. I don't know why. It's just
okay.
I don't know. Do you want another point of view of like realistic, or what I'd actually be if
I
wanted to be a lot of things.
Okay.
If I wasn't an accountant, I'd be a lot of other things.
So like right now, if they're like, okay, there's no such thing as tax consultants.
Okay.
You got to pick a role.
Oh, okay. I'd say engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really more on the the mining side, I think.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
quite interested in I actually wanted to be an engineer before I wanted to be an accountant. So I think that's something I'd go down. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. Don't know what type necessarily, but maybe mining. Interesting. You have to do.
I'm just guessing it's like after you saw all then the high net worth, you're like, okay, mining's where the money's at, guys.
Yeah, that's where they make most. That and property as well. I think it'd either be engineering or it would be on the property development.
Interesting.
And that sort of side, real estate.
Cool. All right. What's one thing you'd like to learn before the end of the year? So not that many months.
I really want to go further in the tech side of stuff.
Okay.
So I've actually started it. It is something that I've committed to before the end of the year as well.
Cool.
And that is like the coding side.
Cool.
So it's a big task. There's not many months left. But it's a software that we're working on, which is called Ultrix. Yeah. So it's already developed, but you build workflows and stuff that you put an Excel in, and then it spits out something easier to work with.
Yeah.
I think I'd really like to develop my skills in that.
Okay.
And that involves a bit of coding, and if you want to get like really serious with a program, you got to know how to code. So, we'll see what happens.
Child genius.
Becoming
an adult genius. Yeah. What happened to that, by the way?
So that I ended up selling it.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So got rid of it all. That was in year 10. I started it.
Wow.
So year 11 and 12 was too demanding. I went into becoming an engineer at that time. So I was like, I got to do all these hard maths and sciences and stuff. So I didn't want to have that at the same time. So that went away, because it was quite demanding. Like, you have to update with apps. You got to update them. You got to keep them interesting. And the App Store became very competitive as well. Yeah. At that time, where paid apps didn't really go very far. Yeah. And a lot of them were free, and big companies controlled them also. It was hard. It was hard towards the end of it. Yeah. So it worked out well that it was able to sell. But it was a great experience. Really got me to where I am at today.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
What is the kindest thing someone has done for you?
I've got an awesome group of friends sitting in front of one right now. And I think...
Ladies, how's he single?
I asked myself the same question. Happily single. Yeah, I think having friends that have been by my side, I think constantly doing kind things for me, to be honest, constantly being there. And sometimes in your toughest moments, just the random catch-ups, people going out of their way that, if you're having a tough day, to actually meet you and to be with you. That's really touched me. Whether you're like really sick and a friend would come over, they probably shouldn't these days, but back in the day it was all right when you had the flu. Yeah. They would, come over and just sit with you. That's really touched me in those moments. It's like, there's good in the world. And so I think very simple thing. Someone's ever, been that kind to me, but I think I'd say that.
Thanks, Joe. No, it's definitely a privilege. And an honor to share those things in those moments as well.
That's right. Yeah.
I would also like to give a shout out, as I'm sure you can tell from listening to this. Joe has a massive heart. Definitely has a heart for people, and he actually set up his own non-for-profit called Blessed. I'll let Joe tell you more about that.
Yeah, that's really exciting. It's really good to have things outside of work. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really important thing. Things that you're passionate about and excited about, because life is more than just work. And I think that's where Blessed sort of has come in. So it's me and a group of three other people from similar but different backgrounds as well. So one of them's also in Big Four, one's in government, and one's studying fashion at the moment. So it's a really good group of people. But our focus at the moment is just creating a network. We don't want to be just another businessy network. It is specialized towards just anyone that's in industry, people that are working or studying to get into certain roles. But we're not really saying like only business people can come or people in commerce. But I think it's a space that we want to create that people, let's say someone has an idea. And we've got mutual friends that you sort of know who I'm talking about here.
Yes.
Where someone has an idea, and someone within that group may be able to help them or support them, encourage them, may physically be able to help them, with a skill that they may have. For example, you might want to start a cafe, and I'm an accountant. I can help you, get your right POS system set up and make sure you got the right accounting software. Doing that sort of stuff on a friendship level. And you don't know where that could eventuate and how things will change in that. But it's about creating that sort of environment where people can really come together and, share what they're passionate about, share about how they want to use the skills that they may have to actually make a difference in the world. So yes, I'm an accountant, and yes, tax may be, something that you don't think you can really change the world, but there are always ways that you can really spark change, whether it be in your workplace, in your engagement with a client, and having an environment where you have people that want to do that. They may have the most, vanilla job out there, but they're excited about it, and they want to change the world with it. And that's sort of where I'm at. Where I know that I can, I want to, with what I've got at the moment in the role that I am at, I want to do everything I can to, stir change in my workplace, whether it's physically like changing the way we do things and automating things, or whether it's being a good friend to people. It's just creating that sort of environment and getting those people together, those like-minded people. So we had our first sort of event a week ago. And hear stories already about people saying, I've known this person for like a year, but I didn't realize what they actually do. And they really interact with what I want to be doing and my vision and all that stuff. And it's just so cool that simple breakfast common network breakfast was able to bring those two together in that context. So yeah, that's pretty much the Blessed Network.
There's one more element to it as well, right? You guys do clients?
Yeah, so our goal definitely is in the future to do like bookkeeping services. So we do have a few bookkeeping clients, and that I guess is sort of what I was saying, like my way of how I want to use my interaction with Blessed. And everyone might have a different sort of way of using Blessed, right? So my way is saying, well, I want to use my skills as an accountant to, you know, support your small end. So obviously my role at work is very big end, and my sort of Blessed time is very, you know, small little operating businesses, manufacturers and stuff. So at this stage, it's offering them full business support. We don't have teams of people in that, but it's more like, you know, my basic marketing and tech and accounting and tax skills I will use to sort of support them, because they're not demanding like massive marketing campaigns. They don't have millions of dollars and stuff. So that's sort of where that's at the moment. But the focus is more upon the network and then how you can use Blessed to take your vision and heart further. I've just used it in a way that says, well, I want to take accounting and tax further in the way that I interact with, you know, commerce and the industry and stuff. So yeah, it's very new. It's old, but it's new in a way. So it's it's a constantly changing and growing group as well, which is really cool to see.
Well, I'm glad to hear, and I can testify. Lots of really good people. You know, lots of different unique talents, perspectives. How would one go about if they're interested in the organization or reaching out to you? Yeah,
like at the stage, we're just doing events every 3 months. That might change as, you know, it gets bigger. We might be able to do them a bit more often. But you can actually, we've got a Facebook page, so just the Blessed Network, that you can join, and we're going to start posting on that as to when like events are happening. Or you can actually, on the website, it's a section where you can actually just put your details in, and actually,
cool. There's
it's more of a personal thing to get. blessednetwork.com.au.
blessednetwork.com.au.
Yeah, so that's a good way. And literally, like, we're not a massive organization, so if you register, you'll probably get a call from me, and we'll just have a good chat.
Awesome.
And catch up for a coffee, because I love coffee. So
yeah, he does. He's a bit addicted.
A little bit. You'll learn that when you get into Big Four accounting. Never used to drink coffee before work.
There you go, guys. Another fun fact. Well, thank you so much, Joe. Thanks for being here. If you think anyone else could benefit from listening or is interested at all, please do share this or help the algorithms by subscribing, chucking a like, or doing whatever you need to do. You can also reach me directly at the pbnjcast@gmail.com. I'd love to hear feedback, ideas, guest suggestions, or if you'd like to share your journey as well. Joe, would you recommend listening to this?
100%. Actually, before doing this, I was like, I need to see what it's all about. And I listened to a few, and such good value. Good conversations, good laughs as well. Yeah. Whenever you're around, mate, it's always a good time.
Again, like,
so I could listen to you all day, so it's all good.
Ladies, he is single for now. Limited time only. we'll call it here. Thank you so much. And I'll pop the Blessed descriptions in the description.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Thanks again for being here, and if you think anyone else could benefit from listening, please do share this or help the algorithms by subscribing, checking a like, so that it can reach others. I am grateful you spent some time with me, and you can reach me directly at the pbnjcast@gmail.com. Would love to hear how this could be improved, get suggestions, or even if you'd like to share your journey yourself. The email address is one word, thepbnjcast@gmail.com.